This is Fayyaz Somro. My today's topic is about the evolution of the human society. I will try with my level best to understand and to discuss that how human society grew from the passage of time and the role of three schools of thoughts. One is Allama Ibne Khuldoon, the second one is the Auguste, Comte, and the third one is the Herbert Spencer. These are the three schools of thoughts who have played a marvelous role to discuss and to share about the social evolution. The social evolution, understanding social evolution is very important because without understanding social evolution, human society cannot grow and cannot understand that what are the factors of the development as well, basically. So the study of the social evolution will tell us that how the human culture is developing by the passage of time in terms of the structure and the practice as well, basically. In addition to these three schools of thoughts, a number of scholars, modern thinkers like the Yuval Noah Harari, and another school of thought, very famous writer, the Swedish-American physicist and AI researcher, Max Tegmark, has also discussed this concept, that what is the social evolution. Like Harari says that if we divide the history of the sapiens, it can be divided on four parts. Like one is about the cognitive revolution, then he talked about the agricultural revolution, thirdly he talked about the unification of the humankind, and finally the society which we are living right now is the scientific revolution. Similarly, the Tegmark, very famous scholar, who also attempted a book with the name of The Life 3.0, and he discussed that how AI is reshaping the human future. So he categorized the human society since times immemorial to yet. He says that the life 1.0 is the biological development of the human society, life 2.0 is the cultural development of the human society, then life 3.0 is the technological development of the human society, and life 4.0 is the industrial development of the human society, and finally the life 5.0 is the artificial intelligence or the knowledge management as well, basically. So this development in human society from life 1.0 to life 5.0 is the basic structure to understand that how human society grew from simplicity to the complexity and from homogeneity to the heterogeneity as well, basically. Similarly, the role of Karl Marx, the role of Emile Durkheim, then the Max Weber, the Morgan, they also have discussed the concept of the social evolution in detail, but the major role as a sociologist and the school of thought in the evolutionary perspective, the Ibne Khuldoon, then Auguste, Comte, and Spencer are very famous as well, basically. So before we discuss about the concept of the Ibne Khuldoon and some two other school of thoughts, we have to understand, first of all, that what are the social major perspectives, how to understand the human society. For example, if I'm a new one in any society and I don't know about the culture, about the feature, about the society, about the religion, normative order, and custom, tradition of any society, so these sociologists have made it very easy, and they say that if you wanted to see the society with four perspectives, like one is the evolutionary perspective, the second one is the conflict perspective, the third one is the functionalist perspective, and the fourth one is the interactionist or symbolic perspective. These perspectives will help us understand the nature of the human society. Like if you talk about the evolutionary perspective, among the evolutionary perspective, there are few schools of thought. They support that evolutionary perspective will make us realize that how society grew from the passage of time, how society developed in different phases, how society went into the complexities as well, basically. So if you look at any society, like if I talk about the Pakistan, I talk about the Chinese society, I talk about the Afghan society. So these societies are very different to understand by anyone. But when we are looking at these societies from the evolutionary perspective, we would come to know that how society grew over by the passage of time. Similarly, the conflict perspective is also one of the area which helps us to understand the nature of the society and the conflicts within the human society. And again, the symbolic or interactions perspective is again self-explanatory, because we sometimes come to know about the nature of society through the symbols being used by the society, through the languages being spoken by the society, and according to the research, there are more than 300 languages being spoken across, but the society which we are now alien, and we don't understand the nature of society, but once we look at the language or we talk about the symbols of society, we will come to know as well, basically. And finally, the functions of the human society will help us to understand that what are the functions of the human society. Because in the society, in the world, some are the agrarian society, some are the technological society, some are the industrial, some are the militant and military. So these four perspectives will give us the root cause of the knowledge and science of the human society as well, basically. So following these four perspectives, if I talk about the Ibne Khuldoon, like very famous scholar, and he was the first school of thought who has given the concept of the positivism, or who has given the concept of the social development as well, basically. Ibne Khuldoon is very famous. He is not a novel to us. He is not Greek to us. And he is very famous because of his many characteristics, such as he memorized the Holy Quran, then he studied the principal commentaries, he gained good knowledge and he has authority on the Muslim law, then he has the sufficient knowledge about the Arabic literature, he was well educated, then he studied the Quran, Hadith, and again the branches of Islamic studies. Then he has the authority on the Islamic jurisprudence, and again the Arabic literature, the philosophy, the mathematics, and the astronomy as well, basically. So Ibne Khuldoon has, if we summarize the Ibne Khuldoon is the father of the sociology. Ibne Khuldoon is the famous philosopher of the Muslim world. Ibne Khuldoon is the first historian of the world. Ibne Khuldoon was not only father of the sociology, but he was the father of the economics as well. Ibne Khuldoon is a person who is claimed to be called the world sociologist as well, basically. So Ibne Khuldoon is very famous because of his very marvelous contribution that is called as the Muqaddimah. The Muqaddimah is a very famous book of the Ibne Khuldoon. It's a very good book of the Ibne Khuldoon, and if I believe how to summarize the Muqaddimah and how to talk about the Muqaddimah, I think it will be injustice, rather sheer injustice, if we are summarizing Ibne Khuldoon's Muqaddimah within a short span of time. But Ibne Khuldoon's Muqaddimah is a very important document to understand. Why? Because of the many points, many sciences as well, basically. Ibne Khuldoon's, if we discuss the key ideas of the Ibne Khuldoon with regard to the evolution of the human society, then Ibne Khuldoon's Muqaddimah is talking about very important concepts, very important terms. Like Ibne Khuldoon is talking about the human society, and he says that if we summarize the key ideas of the Muqaddimah, then there are few key ideas, such as the social organization separates human beings from the animals as well. So this is one of the concepts that Ibne Khuldoon talks, that what is the major difference between the human society and the animals as well. Human societies are different because of many things. For example, humans learn by the instinct, whereas animals always learn by the behavior. Similarly, human societies have developed the social structure, the division of labor, specialization of the skills, then hierarchies, then humans have the normative order, and again, humans established a complex society. So humans are very different from the animals because of this reason. Similarly, Ibne Khuldoon's Muqaddimah is talking about the different climates have different effect on the individual and the human societies. Ibne Khuldoon is of the opinion that the role of the climate with regard to the development of human society cannot be underestimated, because human climate is of different form, like whether it is hot or arid climates, it's a cold or harsh climate, it's a tropical or a humid climate, it's a temperate or mild climate, it has effect of the human societies. We cannot underestimate, we cannot ignore the role of the environment and the poverty, the role of the environment and many other issues as well, basically. The Muqaddimah's, the third key area is also talking about the scarcity or abundance of the food has impact on the human body and character. Ibne Khuldoon rightly says that whether scarcity of the food or abundance of the food also has the impact of the human body and the human character. Similarly, Ibne Khuldoon is also talking about the group feeling. He has given a new idea that is in Arabic is called as al-Asabya. Al-Asabya is an Arabic word. Asabya means social solidarity. Asabya means cooperation. Asabya means coordination. Asabya means fraternity. Asabya means esprit de corps. Asabya means unity. Asabya means modern concept of the communism as well, basically. And Ibne Khuldoon claims that the modern society is offshoot of the Asabya. Had there been no unity among the people living in the yesteryear, in the past, the modern society would have never grown. So, like a question was discussed with Auguste Comte, and someone asked him that how people cooperate and coordinate with each other. So Auguste Comte says that there are three reasons that people cooperate and coordinate with each other. Number one is the language. People always cooperate and come close to each other because of the language. Number second, people always cooperate because of the religion. Religion is one of the binding force that helps individuals to come close to each other. And the third one is the division of labor or division of work. So Ibne Khuldoon is of the opinion that the unity is also one of the factors that helps individuals to grow further. If there's no unity, human society cannot grow. Therefore, the seed of development and declination lies in the Asabya. So Ibne Khuldoon's Asabya is a very famous term, famous theory that's again being very well discussed in the Muqaddimah. Similarly, Ibne Khuldoon is talking about the royal authorities, and he says that the royal authorities are necessary to maintain the law and order. Because if the royal authorities are maintaining the law and order and the behavior, ultimately it will have a trickle-downing effect on the human society. So that's very important. Similarly, Ibne Khuldoon is also talking about the urbanization is the future of the sedentary civilization and ultimately the self-destruction as well, basically. And the last but not the least point of Ibne Khuldoon's Muqaddimah, or the key idea, is about the humans are superior from all living species because of the one thing, that is the ability of thinking and ability of accumulating the knowledge. The other species may not have such capacity to think creatively or accumulate the knowledge, but here the humans are very different because they have the ability of thinking creatively and accumulating the knowledge as well, basically. So Ibne Khuldoon's Muqaddimah is a very, very, very important document. But here's the question, that why I should study the Muqaddimah. Being a sociologist, being an economist, or being a layman in the human society, what are the benefits of the Ibne Khuldoon's Muqaddimah as well? So when we look at the Ibne Khuldoon's Muqaddimah within the lenses of the social, political, economical, technological, or cultural, then we have a few benefits that are very important, and it has impact on the current or the contemporary human society as well, basically. For example, Ibne Khuldoon says that if you are a history lover, then Ibne Khuldoon's Muqaddimah is very important. Ibne Khuldoon's Muqaddimah is a very important document for those who are the history lover. If you are eager to understand the evolution of the human society, that how human society grew from one stage to another stage, so this standpoint will be discussed by Ibne Khuldoon's Muqaddimah. Similarly, Ibne Khuldoon's Muqaddimah is very important to create the science or the ability of thinking in different way. So in analytical approach, without reading Ibne Khuldoon's Muqaddimah is quite impossible. So Ibne Khuldoon's Muqaddimah will give you the science, the knowledge that how human societies grew and how to think creatively and how to discuss or look the issues with different perspectives as well. That's again the very immediate benefit of the Ibne Khuldoon's Muqaddimah. The third one, very important, since the society we are living in is a heterogeneous, wherein there is a huge division of labor, but previously the society was of homogeneous type. There was no division of labor, and people were only depending upon few jobs or few division of labor, such as the teaching as well, basically. So Ibne Khuldoon's Muqaddimah is also very, very important document that will guide you how to teach, because teaching is a craft basically, and it will give you science of the human society. Then it will play a very important role with regard to the teaching as well, basically. Many scholars believe that, and again, if you delve deeper into the Muqaddimah, the reading of Muqaddimah is also very important because of the ability of plunging into the discussions and interactions. Normally, people interact and discuss with each other on different issues, but how to interact with meaningful, how to interact with cognitive way, how to interact empirically. So this type of the science, this type of the study, or this type of the ability without Muqaddimah is again quite difficult as well, basically. Similarly, Ibne Khuldoon's Muqaddimah is the work that's impressive document because it's a gist of wisdom which has been hardly earned by Allama Ibne Khuldoon. So Ibne Khuldoon's Muqaddimah is basically talking about the science of Umran, which is called the sociology. The society, the human society, is not the platform wherein we can run the affairs only with the monotonous way. We cannot run the affairs of the human society only with the religious concepts, but society's affairs are required to be discussed with different perspectives. Like there are the social, political, economical, technological, individual, then familial and societal concepts as well basically. So Ibn Khuldoon, while discussing this concept of Muqaddimah, is directly talking about the importance of the human history. So he has given a new concept which was indeed a new novel idea that is called as the concept of the positivism. Now the positivism is a term, or positivism is a philosophy which is discussed by Ibn Khuldoon with meaningful discussions as well basically. For what is the positivism? A positivism is a term which helps us to understand the nature of the human society other than the religious concepts, other than the individual's whims and caprice, other than the individual's limited knowledge, other than the individual's personal experience, other than the individual's subjective opinions as well basically. Rather than the positivism will help us to differentiate between the right and wrong on the basis of the logic, on the basis of empirical evidence as well basically. So keeping in view the importance of the positivism, Ibn Khuldoon is talking about the importance of the history as well basically. Because history plays a very important role. History is a document which is not only the collection or amalgamation of the past evidence or past events or past example. It is the base for the human development. It is the base for the human growth. If history is maligned, if history is biased, then human societies will have to face many problems basically. And according to Ibn Khuldoon, history is the written record of the human experiences. And human experiences are required to be recorded in right way rather than on the basis of the biased approach. Then history, according to a number of schools of thought, is the perpetual wealth and the blueprint of the nations. History will give you the knowledge about the human societies, that how they grew by the passage of time, what were their issues, and how they come up with the issues as well basically. And again, history is not only the document, but history is the future discourse of the human society. A number of human societies can learn from the past, and then they can grow further as well. So history, according to Bertrand Russell, history is a spirit of national integration and patriotism. Why we are celebrating the rituals, we are celebrating the many events as well. We respect and we regard the sacrifices and sacrifices of the many soldiers and scholars and religious figures. Why? Because it's written in the history as well basically. So Russell rightly says that history is the spirit of the national integration and patriotism to individuals as well basically. Similarly, Colling also says that history is the source of the knowledge that will help to know the human nature. That what is the nature of the human being, what is the nature of the human society. So the understanding the human nature or the human society, history is also very, very important to understand as well basically. Here, history in the modern society has different forms. Like history in the form of the pacts, history in the form of the state record, history like the writ petitions, the decrees and decisions, then the letters and missives, then the notifications and grants like the accounts, then privileges. There are a number of examples that are very important and they are the part of the history as well basically. So considering the history and importance of the history, Ibn Khuldoon points 7 major mistakes being committed by the fellow historians of his time period. Ibn Khuldoon says that there are 7 mistakes, these are being committed, and if these mistakes are being committed, then there are likely chances that human history will be written in a biased manner. And he warned them that you have to come up with these mistakes, and if we are overcoming these mistakes, then there are likely chances that we can have a very, very unbiased history and a flawless history as well basically. Among these mistakes, for example, one of the mistakes was observed by him, that is in simple words, it is the partnership towards a creed or an opinion. Ibn Khuldoon observed that there are many historians, they have the partnerships towards creed or opinion. So if you have a partnership towards any creed or opinion, it means you are a pro-party, it means you are a pro-religion, it means you are the pro that opinion. So if you are already having biasness and you have the partnership towards any creed or opinion, then there are likely chances that history will be written with a biased manner. It's not a right history. Similarly, he says that there are many historians, they are overconfident in their source. Whenever they are getting any information or source, they're not going to re-evaluate, re-examine or recheck, but once they get the information and they believe that this information has been provided to them in a right way, that's the right thing. Of course, it cannot be right. So the information before putting or pen downing in the paper has to be re-evaluated, but according to Ibne Khuldoon, there are many historians, they are not re-evaluating. The third one, the major mistake Ibne Khuldoon points that there are many historians, they fail to understand what is being intended. So they are unable to understand that what is being intended by the people. They do not have the intention to place an event into right context, basically. So when you are unable to place an event into right context, then how you are projecting the history, how you are writing the history. So Ibne Khuldoon says that this is also one of the mistakes being regularly committed by the fellow historians. The next one, like Ibne Khuldoon says that there are many historians, they are writing history for the sake of their petty issues, for the sake of their petty gains, for the sake of their positions, for the sake of pleasing the emperors and kings and many other stakeholders. So Ibne Khuldoon says that if this strategy is being applied while writing a history, then it is the flaw. And the last but not the least one, Ibne Khuldoon points that the human society is not being governed by one regulatory framework. A human society is always being governed by different regulatory frameworks. Like there are the political laws, economical, social, then technological, individual and communal. So the historians must know the science of the governing the human society. How to govern the human society, it's a science. And these historians must look at all these sciences well so that they can project the history as well, basically. In simple words, Ibne Khuldoon's positivism is a novel idea that categorically denies and rejects the ideal superstition and uncritical of the acceptance of the historical data. So Ibne Khuldoon says that history is a very important document. Why? Because history is a science. History is not only collection of the documents, but history is the science. And history has a content, and historians should be account for these contents. It is the duty of these historians to look at the contents of the history as well. And he says that history is not only science, rather history is a philosophical science. And through philosophical science, we can build the society. We can address the issues of the human society. We can come up with many solutions of the human society. So Ibne Khuldoon considers that history could be written in proper manner if the 4 points are being followed by the historians. So while he considered these 4 suggestions can help to study and analyze the historical reports as well, basically. For example, number 1, Ibne Khuldoon says that a historian must have the science or knowledge to relate an event with the cause and effect. So when you are writing the history, then you must have hands-on experience to relate the cause and event as well, basically. So if you are writing history in view of the cause and events, then history could be written in proper manner. Similarly, Ibne Khuldoon says that a historian must have the ability to draw the analogy between the past, present and the future as well, basically. So if you are able to understand the past and evaluate the present and then foresee the future, then this type of the analytical approach must rest with the historian as well. And in addition to these 2 points, Ibne Khuldoon also says that historians must consider the environmental effect of the human society, or the effect of the environment of the contemporary period as well, basically. And last but not the least one, that is the economical conditions. So before writing the history, historians are required to understand the economical conditions, environmental conditions of the human society. So this concept gave a way forward to the human society. Now the concept of positivism is not only being discussed in the sociology, but almost in all walks of the life. Now human society is trying to address the affairs on the basis of the logical conclusions, on the basis of the empirical evidence as well, basically. The same concept was also discussed by the Auguste, Comte, the very famous school of thought, who also talked about the human society. So before I talk about Auguste Comte, how he discussed the human society and the evolution of the human society. Auguste Comte was highly inspired from Allama Ibne Khuldoon, and he also borrowed the concept of the positivism from Allama Ibne Khuldoon. And he has given the concept of the Comtean positivism. So Auguste Comte, a French philosopher, he says that a Comtean positivism is a new concept. Like Ibne Khuldoon says that positivism means discussing or addressing the affairs of the human society on the basis of empirical evidences, on the basis of rationality, on the basis of the cognitive skills. Similarly, Auguste Comte also addresses, and he says that if we are seeking the help from the states and then discussing affairs of the human society, then we have likely chances to understand the nature and context of the problem in a right way. Like we can classify the problem, we can empirically prove the problems well. For example, the poverty never means the poverty, the types of poverty, the classification of poverty. And nowadays, in almost all walks of life, not only in academia, but other than academia, we are using the states. We seek help from the mean, mode, median, regression, coefficient correlation, chi-square, and there are many techniques of the statistics. These help us to understand the exact nature of the human society or exact nature of the problem as well. This concept was also discussed by the Auguste Comte. Auguste Comte also discussed about the human society, that how human society grew from simpler to the complex as well. And according to Auguste Comte, human society grew into 3 stages. So these 3 stages are sometimes called as the law of 3 stages. Auguste Comte gave a new law that was called as the law of the 3 stages. So when we look at the law of these 3 stages, then we will come to know that yes, this is the way how human society grew from a passage of time. For example, according to him, there are 3 laws that tell us the evolution of the human society. One of the law is called as the theological or fictitious age, basically. So he says that human society can be divided into 3 parts. One was the theological stage, second was the metaphysical stage, and third one is the scientific or the positivism stage. Now, human society is developing from theological stage to metaphysical stage to the positivism stage, basically. What is the theological stage? What we will accrue from the theological stage? Auguste Comte says that this is indeed the infantile stage, wherein man was not in position to differentiate between the right and wrong. The individuals were not in position to differentiate between the moral and immoral well, basically. And he was considering that the affairs of the human society will be or can be only addressed from the religious concepts. The religion was only forerunner of the human society. The religion was only factor through which we can understand or we can address the affairs of the human society. And Auguste Comte says that among the theological stage, there are 4 sub-stages. Like one is the fetishism stage, the earlier stage of the theological stage. The second one is the anthropomorphism stage. The third one is the polytheism stage. And the fourth one is the monotheism stage, basically. So when we talk about the fetishism stage, the first stage of the theological stage, here Auguste Comte says that during the fetishism stage, man was not in position to differentiate between right and wrong. Rather, he has a firm faith that in all non-living organisms, there resides a living organism. Like there was the god of the fire, the god of hunger, the god of child, the god of women, the god of earthquake, the god of rain, the god of volcano, the god of any non-living organism contains a living organism. So human being by nature, by instinct is a proliterate. So here people think that how it is possible that different gods can run the different affairs simultaneously. So here the human society is entering into the new stage, which is called as the anthropomorphism. Now among the anthropomorphism, now people or human society is not in the full conviction that yes, humans, there are different gods and different things. Here they are doubtful. Rather they are now not having a firm faith. They doubt that whether there can be different gods in non-living organisms or there cannot be gods in non-living organisms. But again, the human society enters because of the evolution. They come into the third stage, which is called as the monotheism or the monotheist. Now the monotheism, human society thinks that no, not in all non-living organisms, but in certain non-living organisms there resides a God. So the religion, the monotheism is here, and we understand there are many societies across the world, they have the monotheism as well. And finally, Auguste Comte says that there comes a time when human beings think that no, there is only one God. This stage is called as the monotheism. Previous was the polytheism, now this is the monotheism. Now the polytheism has different gods and the monotheism has only one God basically. Here Auguste Comte says that if the when the human beings are able to understand that there is only one God, the monotheism stage, here people left to think or address the affairs of human society from the religious point of view. Now the human society is entering into the new stage, or the second stage, which is called as the metaphysical stage now. Now what is the metaphysical stage? Simply the metaphysical stage wherein we normally call it as the age of debates. Now human society is not addressing the affairs only on the religion, on the basis of the religion, but now people started to think about the problems of the human society or the nature of the human society with different perspectives. They started to look at the human society from the political, economical, social, then technological, individual, then familial, and religious as well basically. Religion is also one of the components as well basically. Here still the human society is not in position to differentiate on empirical basis. So there comes to the last stage according to Auguste Comte, which is called as the positivism or the scientific stage. In the positivism or scientific stage, individuals decide on the basis of the numbers, instead decide on the basis of the data. Individuals decide on the basis of the empirical evidence basically. Now the individual's concepts, individual's knowledge, individual's opinion, individual subjective knowledge is not only the factor to decide the affairs, rather the facts and figures are here to decide how human society can come up with proper panacea or solution of various problems as well. So Auguste Comte summarizes that if you look at these three stages, from theological stage to metaphysical stage to the scientific stage, each stage has different perspectives, different impact on the human society. Because in the theological stage, individuals were always looking upon the families. The family was central concept of the individual. The family was central theme of the individuals, and people never went beyond the familial concepts. Whereas in the metaphysical stage, people are now thinking about the nations. There's not only family that can be discussed, that can be addressed. Affairs of the society are now being discussed as a whole. And in the third stage, the scientific society, at the scientific age, now there's not only the individual's family, not only the nation states, but now people start thinking about the entire humanity. So now the COVID was not only a problem of the few families, neither it was a problem of the few nations, it was the problem of the entire humanity. So this development of the human society, according to Auguste Comte, from theological stage to the metaphysical stage and to the scientific stage is called as the law of three stages, and this is called as how human society grew from simplicity to the complexity as well basically. So when we talk about the Auguste Comte, then the third school of thought, very famous, who also talks about the human society's evolution of the human society, that is the Herbert Spencer. An English philosopher, Herbert Spencer, is very famous in the sociology because of his three theories. One is the organic analogy, which we will discuss right now. The second one is about the law of about the difference between, or the contrast between, the militant or the military society, very important. And the third one, the social evolution. Now Auguste Comte is Herbert Spencer, Auguste Comte and Ibne Khuldoon. These three schools of thoughts are considered as the scholars of the evolutionary perspective as well basically. Herbert Spencer is also talking about the same thing. Like Auguste Comte says that there are three laws of the human social development. Similarly, he says that human society developed into four stages. Like one was the society that was the simple society, then there is the compound society, then third one is the doubly compound society, and the fourth one is the terribly compound society. Now Spencer says that when you talk about the simple society, it comprises of only few individuals and few families. So when you look at the early stage of the human society, or we look at the past, it was society which was scattered by nature, but only few individuals and few families as well, basically. Since the society has to evolve, society is always in a growing way. Its social evolution is a natural process. Therefore, there is the second stage, which is called as the double compound society, wherein now there are not only individuals, not only families, but now there are the relatives as well, basically. Now the double compound society is comprising of the individuals, then families and relatives as well, basically. So there comes a third stage, when it is called as the compound, then the doubly compound. In the doubly compound society, then there are the individuals, there are the families, there are the relatives, and there are the neighborings as well, basically. Now the neighbors are also the part of the human society. And finally, the terribly compound society is the modern society, wherein there are not only individuals, families, kith and kin, neighbors, and again there are the nation states as well, basically. According to Spencer, human society grows from simpler to complex and from homogeneous to the heterogeneous. The same concept is also discussed by the Herbert Spencer, and Spencer is talking about a theory, a new idea, which is called as the organic analogy. When we look at the Herbert Spencer, Spencer was basically a biologist. So he entered in sociology through the biology as well, basically. So when you look at his theories of the human society, these are more or less biological come sociological as well, basically. So when you talk about the Herbert Spencer's organic analogy, this is a marvelous idea, a new idea that again invited attention of the many individuals across the human society, and he realized that if we are looking or treating the human society like we are treating ourselves or developing ourselves, then there are likely chances. So he has given the concept of the organic analogy. So what is organic analogy? Spencer says that when you look at the individual, an individual is comprising of the organs. Like we have the head, we have the eyes, nose, mouth, ear, heart, lungs, then these hands, these legs. These are organs of the human body. And according to him, if all organs of the human body are functionalizing, the rest of human body will also be functionalizing. If any organ or all organs of the human body are dysfunctional, then the rest of human body will also be the dysfunctional. The same concept is applied by Spencer. Spencer says that a human society is like a living organism, wherein it is also the organ, like the home, school, college, maktab, madrasa, then economy, geography, neighboring, media. These are the organs of the human society. And if we are treating the human society and if in a proper way, then human society will also grow. So he says that if all organs of the human society are functionalizing, rest of the human society will also be functionalizing. If any organ or all organs of the human society are dysfunctional, the rest of human society will also be dysfunctional. He went to the extent of similarity that's very astonishing. For example, he says that if we talk about the human body, there's a cell. A cell is the part of the human body. Similarly, an individual is the cell of the human society. So he has given the similarity between the human cell and the cell in the human body and the human being in the human society as well, basically. And he says that if you look at the eye, the function of eye is to see, to look and to watch. Similarly, an individual who is a wise man in human society, having knowledge, skill, ability, vision and intuition, so the function of an eye and a function of wise man is similar as well, basically. Similarly, he says that if you look at the mouth in the human body, we always energize the human body through the mouth. We have the edible and potable things through the mouth. Similarly, a factory is the mouth of a society. We provide the food and some other things to the human society through the mouth, through the factory. So factory is the mouth of the human society. Similarly, he is talking about the veins. We have the blood that's circulating through the veins. Similarly, these all roads, railways, these all communication system is basically vein of the human society. So Spencer is giving impetus to his concept, and he is talking by giving the similarity as well as the dissimilarity. He says that there is the similarity between the biological organ and the social organ, and at the same time he also says that there is a dissimilarity between the biological organs and the social organs as well. So let's talk about the similarities, what he talks about the similarities. When he talks about the similarity, then there are few points worthy considering. For example, he says that the similarity in visible growth. So if he is talking about the similarity between the biological and social organs, then he says that there are few factors, and one of the factors is the visible growth. He says that there's a very visible growth in the human being. A child gets birth, then he grows, attains teenage, then he becomes adult as well. Similarly, there is also the growth, the same process in the human society. And he says that we discussed there was a simple society, there was a compound society, there was a double compound society, and there was a terribly compound society. So when we look at the growth element between the human body and the human society, it is the similarity. That's always available in the both organs or both sectors. Similarly, the increase in the complexity of the structure. Now, Spencer says that the factor of the increase of the structure is getting complex in both, segments. Human individual, a child, how much he will be a complex. Then an adult person will definitely be complex. Similarly, a simple society, a very simple one, which is very homogeneous by nature, is less complex as compared to the modern society. So the element of the increase in the complexity of the structure is visible in the both organisms. Similarly, the difference between the differentiation of structure leading to differentiation of function. Now, Spencer says that another element which is also very similar in both segments, like that is the differentiation of a structure leading to differentiation of function. Individuals are having different type of structures and different type of function. Similarly, different societies, different functions and different structures as well, basically. The next one that is the harmony. The differentiation as well as the harmony. Now, Spencer says that human beings are very different from each other, but again, there's a harmony among them. So we cannot think without the mind. We cannot see without eyes. Although we have different type of eyes, we cannot walk through the legs. We cannot write through the hand. But there's again the similarity as well as there is the dissimilarity. There's the harmony among the all organs, whether it's the social organ or there's the individual's organ. Similarly, the very important point: the loss of organ does not necessarily loss of organism. So Spencer says that if an individual is unable to see, there are many special persons, they cannot walk. There are individuals having many biological issues, many psychological issues, many problems. But we cannot say that it's a loss of the organism. They still are the part of the body. We still respect them, love them, care them. Similarly, in the human society, there are many organs that are dysfunctional by nature. Unfortunately, there are issues in the education system. There are issues in the political system. There are issues in the economical system. There are many organs that are dysfunctional, but still they are the part of the human society. So this similarity was very keenly discussed by the Spencer. So we also discussed about the differences. And Spencer says that there is not only the similarity between the biological and social organism, there is also the difference as well, basically. For example, he says that organs are organized, but the part of society are independent. When we talk about the human organ, they are always organized. But when you look at the society, so the organs of human society are not organized, they are basically independent, they are different by nature. So that's one of the difference that is from the biological and social point. Similarly, he says that the manner of difference, independence also vary. All organs have the function, that's only soul. I cannot write through my mouth, I cannot write through my eyes. So we have the functions that are very natural. But here in the human society, a human society's organs can have the multiple functions. Like a house can be the organization. The father in the form of your lead, the mother in the form of the kind, the sister in the form of the colleague, the brother in the form of the competitor. So there's not only the one function, there are multiple functions can be achieved from the human society, organs of the human society, but these all qualities are not there in the biological organ. Similarly, the difference regarding the centrality of consciousness. So Spencer says that human society and the organs of the human society are different from the organs of the human body as well. Why? Because of the one element, that is the consciousness of kinds, or that's called the centrality of the centrality of the consciousness. Like the feelings, the respect, the fear, love, then the care. These all are there in the biological organs, but these are not here in the social organs as well. So human society's organs are different because of the centrality of the consciousness as well, basically. And last but not the least one, the difference regarding structure and function. Both the human society has different structure and different functions as well. So he discussed that despite the fact that there are the similarities and dissimilarities, but one of the important points that's worthy discussing by this school of thought is that if we are looking the human society like we are caring our own body, then there are likely chances that human society will grow in different manner, in proper way as well, basically. So these are three school of thoughts. When you look at the contribution of these three school of thought, then there is a question that's very important to discuss. Number one, for example, how many Ibne Khuldoons are here to provide us with the groundwork of empirical evolutions? So now the work done by Ibne Khuldoon is required to be carried on. Similarly, then how many Comtes are there to educate the scientific method? So still this scientific method is there, but we still are not following, we are not following religiously this scientific method in understanding the human history or the human society. And similarly, how many Spencers are there who apply the evolutionary principles of the human society? So these three schools of thought have played a very important role to make us realize the importance of the human society, that how human society grew by the passage of time. So Ibne Khuldoon, the Auguste, Comte, and Herbert Spencer are these three schools of thought who claim that the society is like a living organism, and the social evolution is very important to understand the nature of the human society as well. So these sociologists are not only a school of thought having the knowledge of the society about their norms, rules, regulation, custom, and tradition, but a sociologist is the architect and engineer of the human society. We can improve the society, we can resolve the affairs of the human society by applying the knowledge of the sociology. So the evolution of the human society is a very important concept to understand the nature of the human society. For how long we are growing, what are the factors of the growth of the society, what are the issues being faced by the society. These are questions that needs to be addressed from the sociological point of view as well, basically. Then we can grow, and we can come across, and we can have the solution of the many problems of the human society, basically. Thank you very much.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर, बहुत अच्छा लगा, ज़बरदस्त। आपने जो हमें ये तीनों फ़िलोसोफर्स के हवाले से जो सोसाइटी की एवोल्यूशन है या उसको समझने के लिए जो स्टेजेस उन्होंने दी हैं, ये बताइएगा कि ये जो है अपना कार्ल मार्क्स, इन्होंने भी हमें एक सोसाइटी को समझने के लिए मुख्तलिफ स्टेजेस या मुख्तलिफ थ्योरी पेश की है। तो हाउ वुड यू रिलेट कार्ल मार्क्स थ्योरी टू इब्ने खुल्दून, या जो आपने दो जो हमारे फ़िलोसोफर्स को बताया, तो उसमें भी कोई सिमिलरिटी है या उनके इसमें कोई डिफरेंस है, या उनमें कोई उनके समझने में कोई और फैक्टर है कार्ल मार्क्स की जो थ्योरी है सोसाइटी को समझने के लिए?
Thank you. When I was talking about the school of thought in sociology, I also discussed the role of the Karl Marx as the scholar who also discussed the evolution theory. Karl Marx also is given the conflict theory, and he also is talking about the classless society. Karl Marx says that there should be a classless society wherein people at least should be given their due rights as well, basically. So if you are giving due rights to individual, then society will be having the harmony, and society will be free from any turbulence, and there will not be the fight between the rich and the poor, because in society the rich is getting richer and the poor is getting poorer because of a reason. So this the concept of Karl Marx is more or less the concept of Allama Ibne Khuldoon. So he also has supported the concept of the Ibne Khuldoon and some other school of thoughts in sociology as well, basically.
Pakistani society is struck by multiple crises: political, social, economic, judicial, and so on. And they can be explained through different lenses or perspectives. Marxian lens, or conflict perspective, functionalist perspective. And my question to you is, this theory of Asabya that you presented, which says the development or decay or construction or destruction depends on cooperation and unity. How much this theory is relevant in our society?
I think there's no any out of doubt to relate this theory with regard to Pakistan, because Asabya, according to Ibne Khuldoon, is not only relevant to the Muslim society. There were many non-Arabs and there were many non-Muslim societies. They also developed by the passage of time because of the Asabya as well, basically. And Ibne Khuldoon has given the cycle of Asabya at stage 1, 2, 3, and 4. And he says that if at each level, the Asabya is there and the people always cooperate with each other, and the subjects have respect for the rulers, and rulers are caring the individuals and subjects well, then of course they are the development as well. But he very outwardly says that Asabya is the change factor. Asabya is just like a factor of the change, and the seed of development and declination lies there. And why? Because if you are cooperating with each other, if you are respecting the societies, and there's the nexus between the state and the individual, then there's a development. But if there's no nexus between the state and individual, and everybody is working for himself or themselves, which already he has discussed about the Badwa society and the Hadara society. Badwa means the rural society and the urban society. And Ibne Khuldoon rightly points that in the urban society, the Asabya is too much. The gravity of Asabya is at a high level in the rural societies as well in the urban society. Because why? Because in urban societies, it is a homogeneous type of society. People know each other, they respect each other, they have care for their similarities, they have the same bonds, the same religious obligations to perform. It's limited by nature. Although there are no jobs, but people depend upon the agricultural products. There are no lusty behavior, there's no pompous behavior. But compared to the rural society, if you look at the urban society, then the Asabya or the degree or level of Asabya is too low. Why? Because it is the interest-based society. Every individual is working for himself. So the life is being passed by few individuals in certain cartels. So the concept of unity, of course, is there, but not in true sense. So I would just say that there's a very, very common word you might have heard, that is parcham ke saaye tale hum ek hain. But when we look at very seriously and very religiously, is parcham ke saaye tale hum ek hain. So this concept is because we are not Asabian with each other, there's no cooperation among the individual because of many reasons as well, basically. So Asabya no doubt can be related to the modern society. Even if it is the non-Muslim society, the society will have to grow and prosper as well, basically. So the concept of Asabya with regard to development of the human society can never be underestimated. It is one of the criterion for the development of the human society. And he claims that Asabya reshapes the human society as well, basically. And he claims that the modern society is basically outcome of the previous society. It is the outcome of the nomadic society. Now the nomadic society, it is a society wherein there are no civic facilities, rules, regulation, custom, but still people are united with each other. So this unity was the factor that helped the other societies to grow and develop as well, basically. So this is the relate to the human society.
There's another question related
Please,
to
why not?
Coming out of it. Sir, there is strengthened Asabya in simple society, homogeneous society. But in a society like ours, which is heterogeneous, it's highly fractionized and polarized. Does Khuldoon, he gives us the remedy, like how to achieve Asabya in such fractionized societies?
Yeah, the concept of community is discussed there, that if you are, the society is comprising of two segments. One is called as the community, and other one is like a society. A society is a whole concept, and there are a number of communities within one society. So if each community is tied with each other, if we are following the societal norms, societal regulation, custom as a whole, and we are synergizing and having an inclusive approach, then ultimately there's a development, there's a growth as well, basically. That was the concept.
Hello, sir. I have two questions. Basically, it's one question. How Muqaddimah defines human nature? Because without understanding human nature, we can't balance human society.
Muqaddimah defines human nature because if I already discussed that, when you look at the Ibne Khuldoon's Muqaddimah, Ibne Khuldoon is not talking about only human being, but he is also talking about the various issues that are associated with the human society. So there are many policies, rules, regulation. It's basically Ilm al-Imran, which is called the science of the human society. So he is talking about the different, roles, like the role of the family, like the role of the state, like the role of the environment, like the role of individuals in the politics. There are different roles that shape the human society. And these different roles help us to understand the human nature. Human nature, how we can understand the human nature? We can understand human nature by different means. We can understand through the occupation, through the norms, through the custom, through the social mobility, through the social control. There are different factors that help us to understand the human nature. So Asabya is directly and directly talking about the human nature, that how human societies can pass a life that's acceptable to each other, how people should follow the standards of the human society. So that is the concept that has been discussed by Ibne Khuldoon to understand the human nature as a whole basically.
ہربرٹ اسپینسر اور خلدون جو ہیں ان دونوں کی بات بڑی حد تک ایک طرح کی دکھائی دیتی ہے. خلدون نے سوشل سولیڈیرٹی یا سابیہ کی بات کی. اسپینسر جو ہیں وہ بھی یہی بات کر رہے ہیں کہ سوسائٹی جو ہے وہ مختلف اجزاء پر مبنی ہے اور ان کے درمیان ایک ہارمنی ہونا ضروری ہے. یعنی اگر کمپیشن اور کوآپریشن نہیں ہے تو وہ نہیں چلے گا. ان دو کو ہم رکھتے ہیں سائڈ پہ. بیچ میں جو لا آف 3 اسٹیجز ہے اس کے جو میں نے نوٹ کی ہے, آپ نے پہلا اسٹیج بتایا تھیولوجیکل اسٹیج, جس میں آپ چیزوں کی توجیہ کرنے کی کوشش کرتے ہیں ان ٹرمز آف سپر نیچرل بینگز اور ڈیوائن فورسز ایٹسیٹرا. سیکنڈ اسٹیج ہے میٹافزیکل اسٹیج, جس میں آپ ایبسٹریکٹ کانسیپٹس کو فلوسافیکل ٹرمز میں سمجھنے کی یا ایک اس پہ غور و فکر کرتے ہیں اور فکری بحث کا آغاز ہوتا ہے. اور ان دونوں مدارج سے گزر کے تیسرا درجہ آتا ہے جہاں پر آپ, جس کو آپ نے آئی تھنک پازیٹیو اسٹیج,
سائنٹیفک اور
پازیٹیو اسٹیج, جس کے اندر آپ چیزوں کے بارے میں امپیریکل آبزرویشن ڈیمانڈ کرتے ہیں اور سائنٹیفک انکوائری کرتے ہیں. آپ کا جو موضوع ہے میں اس کے ساتھ اس کو جوڑ رہا تھا اینڈ دیٹ میک سینس. انہی تینوں مدارج کو سامنے رکھا جائے تو آج کی جو دنیا ہے, ڈسپائٹ جو ہمارے یہاں ایک نیگیٹو ٹینڈنسی ہے کہ دنیا تباہ ہو رہی ہے یا ہم بہت برے وقت سے گزر رہے ہیں, کیا یہ کہنا درست نہیں ہوگا کہ ہم وی آر ایکچولی گیٹنگ بیٹر؟ اب دیکھیے نا, اب قبائلی نظام وہ نہیں رہا, اب جنگ و جدل نہیں ہے کہ ہم اٹھ کے کسی کے اوپر, وی ہیو ٹو لیو ان دی کمیونٹی آف نیشنز. اب یہاں پر قوانین ہیں, یہاں ایک نیشن اسٹیٹ کا جو کنسیپٹ ہے کچھ صدیوں پہلے آیا, اور اب جو ہے اگر ایک کسی سماج میں یا کسی ملک میں کوئی آفت آتی ہے تو دنیا کے دوسرے ممالک اس کو ہیلپ آؤٹ کرنے کی بہرحال کوشش کرتے ہیں. تو اور اب ظاہر ہے کہ سائنٹیفک انکوائری یا جو امپیریکل آبزرویشن یا اس کی جو ڈیٹا انالیسز ہے وہ سائنسی بنیادوں پر ہو رہا ہے. تو میرا خیال ہے کہ اس سے یہ نتیجہ نکالا جا سکتا ہے ایٹ لیسٹ تھیوریٹیکلی کہ دا ورلڈ از ایکچولی گیٹنگ بیٹر. آپ اس سے متفق ہوں گے؟ یعنی
جی آپ ٹھیک کہہ رہے ہیں بالکل ہی, یہ اس میں کوئی دوسری رائے نہیں ہے کہ وی آر گیٹنگ بیٹر. اٹ از جسٹ کسی نے پوچھا کہ جی آپ شروع سے لے کر آج تک جو دنیا ہے اس کو آپ کیسے ایکسپلین کریں گے, تو بڑا ایک اچھا ایک جملہ ہے اس کا کہ آئی ایم ریڈنگ وار اینڈ پیس سو دیٹ مائی سنس کین ریڈ نیویگیشن اینڈ اکنامکس سو دیٹ دیئر سنس کین ریڈ میوزک اینڈ پوئٹری. تو اس میں کوئی شک نہیں ہے کہ دنیا جو آگے ڈیولپ ہو رہی ہے, مگر یہاں پر جو اصل سوال ہے وہ یہ ہے, کیا ہم ان تھیوریز کو, ان چیزوں کو ریلیجیسلی امپلیمنٹ کر رہے ہیں؟ کیا وہ جو انکلوسو اپروچ ہے, وہ جو کتاب آئی ہے آپ نے شاید پڑھی ہوگی وائی نیشن فیلز, ان میں جو انکلوسو اپروچ کی جو بات کر رہا ہے اور ایکسٹریکٹیو اپروچ کی بات کر رہا ہے, تو کیا ہم انکلوسو اپروچ کے ساتھ جا رہے ہیں؟ اف یو آر گوئنگ ود انکلوسو اپروچ پھر تو ہم ترقی کر رہے ہیں, بٹ اف یو آر گوئنگ بائی ایکسٹریکٹیو اپروچ تو پھر میرے خیال میں اسٹل دیر روم فار امپرومنٹ. تو یہ جو تینوں اسکول آف تھاٹ ہے انہوں نے ہمیں ایک گراؤنڈ ورک دے دیا کہ سوسائٹی ہے کیا, سوسائٹی کو وہ ڈیولپ کیسے ہو رہی ہے, سوسائٹی کو کیسے سمجھا جائے, سوسائٹی کی جو بیسکس ہیں وہ کیسے ہم ڈائجسٹ کریں تاکہ ہم گرو کریں. کیا ہم اس گراؤنڈ ورک کو اسی ریلیجس پیس کے ساتھ لے کے جا رہے ہیں ایز اے انسٹیٹیوشنل لیول, ایز اے کلیکٹیو لیول اور ادروائز؟ اگر ہم کلیکٹیولی جا رہے ہیں دین الٹیمیٹلی دیر دا ڈیولپمنٹ, اگر ہم کلیکٹیولی نہیں جا رہے ہیں تو اسٹل دیر دا کویسچن کہ ہم اس کو پراپرلی ہمیں جانا چاہیے بیسیکلی. تو دیر از نو این آؤٹ آف ڈاؤٹ کہ جو سوسائٹی ہے یسٹر ایئر کی جو آج کی سوسائٹی ہے اس میں بہت بڑا فرق ہے, اس میں کوئی دوسری رائے نہیں ہے. اٹ ہیز ڈیولپڈ ایٹ این الارمنگ پروپورشنس. بٹ اگین وائی دیر از اے کویسچن, another question, that why in the 21st century the soul is still suffering. We are still suffering, the soul is suffering. Why? Because of these reasons that we unfortunately either could not be united, either we could not understand the human nature, either we could not understand the human society as well basically. दो theories हैं जो आपके सवाल से relate करती हैं. एक आपकी होती है modernization theory और एक है आपके यहाँ dependency theory. इन दो theory को मैं relate करूँगा आपके सवाल से कि जी modernization theory ये कहती है the rich nations are richer because their people possess the values of being richer, because their people possess the custom and tradition and practice of being richer. And poor nations became poor because their people do not possess the values of being richer. और जबकि डिपेंडेंस थ्योरी है वो सिर्फ एक मैं तो कहूँगा कि वो एक ऑप्टिमिस्ट नहीं है, वो एक पैसिमिस्ट है. वो ये कहती है कि जी द पुअर कंट्रीज रिमेन पुअर बिकॉज ऑफ द मल्टीनेशनल कॉर्पोरेशंस बेसिकली. तो सवाल उधर ही आ जाता है क्या हमारे पास वो वैल्यूज़ हैं जो हमें रिच करते हैं, डेवलप करते हैं, ग्रो करते हैं. दीज वैल्यूज आर टू बी टेकन फ्रॉम दीज स्कूल ऑफ थॉट बेसिकली. दैट्स वाज द मेन पॉइंट.
और अभी ज़ाहिर है कि इंसानी समाज बहैसियत मजमूई किसी एक स्टेज पर नहीं है. यानी एक कुछ अक़वाम होंगी जो तीसरी स्टेज पर हैं, कुछ पहली पे ही अड़की हुई हैं, हम शायद पहली और दूसरी के दरमियान.
यस, इट्स अ ग्लोबल स्ट्रैटिफिकेशन.
तो वेल आई थिंक आगे बढ़ने का रास्ता जो है वो यही है, ह्यूमन इंक्लूसिवनेस, कंपैशन फॉर ईच अदर रिगार्डलेस ऑफ ये रंग, नस्ल, ज़ुबान, मज़हब, अक़ीदा वगैरह जो हमने अपने खोल चढ़ाए हुए हैं, इनसे निकलें, सबको साथ लेकर चढ़ें और फ्यूचर जो है वो साइंटिफिक और जो इंक्वायरी है उसको साथ लेकर ही हम आगे बेहतर चल सकते हैं. चलें, आई थिंक इट इज़ पॉजिटिव नोट पे जो है ये आपका लेक्चर जो है इख्तिताम पसीर होता है. बहुत शुक्रिया सर आपका.